Hello. Today I will give you a brief lecture on managing change and innovation. Now, first of all, this learning unit is covered by Chapter 17, Managing Technology and Innovation, and Chapter 18, Creating and Leading Change. That is, if you are reading Bateman. Now, if you are reading the free textbook, so you will need to read Chapter 18, Management of Technology and Innovation. Now, this learning unit is part of the contemporary management issues and challenges. And many of these kind of the things that you may find in the uh, chapters reflect the current fashion of management towards change and innovation. First, we will look at innovation. The term innovation is a highly popular term throughout our society, I guess. If you are kind of a regular reader of the newspapers, maybe nowadays you don't read the paper newspapers, but rather the online news portals, you come across a lot of these innovation, the articles that deals with or talks about or relating to the term innovation. Okay, so the term innovation is a hype up term, and change, in particular organizational change, is also a hype up term. Now, how is it that change and innovation comes together? The main thing here is that, and we have talked a bit about that in the beginning of the semester, is that we have to deal with the volatile environment. To deal with the volatile environment, you need an organization that can adapt to the changing environment, a flexible organization to say. Okay, and some of the management textbooks talks about flexible organization, right? Practically organizations that is not bureaucratic in terms of its structure, because it is said that the flat organization or flatter organizations can deal with the volatile environment better than the bureaucratic organization. Whether it's true or not, well, I don't know. Okay, because obviously the current thinking and the current trend is favoring the flatter organization. But whether or not it will continue to be so in the future, nobody knows. Because flatter organizations is not all, I mean, it is not all great. Because the purpose of the bureaucratic organization is practically to ensure that things are done correctly. But then, of course, technology also changes. So, with the changing technology, organizations can become less bureaucratic. So, that idea of change and innovation has actually been discussed from the beginning of this semester in terms of dealing with the volatile environment. Okay, so the main thing here is that innovation is a good thing. Innovation is a good thing. But what is innovation? Practically, there are two kind of dimensions of innovation that are relevant to management. First is that changes in the products or services. That change can be great, totally new product, or incremental or maybe even superficial changes in the product or, or services that the business organization is producing. So change, okay, change. The key word is to change. But practically it's not change for the sake of change, but change to make the products to be better, to be able to satisfy the demands, the uh, uh, the wants and the desires of the customers, the market, that would be better than what the competitors can offer. You must remember the assumption here is that you are uh, in an industry where you have to compete with other business organizations offering more or less similar products like what you are offering to the customers. So, innovation in one dimension is about trying to change the products and services, can be superficial, can be incremental, can be very drastic to make the products and services better than what the competitors can offer. Also, another dimension would be the production process itself. The production process can be changed to make it less costly, or to be able to use different kind of resources, or to kind of sub- substitute capital, or to substitute labor with capital, assuming that the use of capital is actually in the long run cheaper than to pay wages for the labor or workers to produce the products and services. And actually, that is what is happening in many manufacturing firms, that uh, uh, the use of people, workers, is like getting less and less, because they can be substituted with technology, whatever the technology is being called. Of course, you should be familiar with that. Some of the more hyped up terms would be AI, artificial intelligence, that can even take over supervisory or even managerial positions in the factory. AI, artificial intelligence. So those are the two dimensions of innovation. You have to change the products and services, make them better than what the competitors can offer. And then the production process itself, make it more effective, less defects, okay? More quality products, quality being defined, okay, as the kind of objectives to be achieved, and to make the production process less costly, more efficient, etc., etc. So that's the idea, innovation. Now, how do you want to do that? In line with the current thinking of management, innovation should start from the people, okay, not just somebody at the top, but people throughout the organization, especially those people who are dealing with customers, dealing with the production process. They are the ones who would be the drivers of innovation. Now, with innovation comes change. So if you have a new product to be produced, or more so, if you have a new way to produce products and services, it can be the same products, it can be a new way to produce even new products. Then if that I- if those are the situations, then you have to change. The organizations have to change, right? So the thing here is that change has to be facilitated, because change and innovation comes together. If you want to create better products, better production processes, but if you don't want to change, then that resistance to change would eventually hamper your innovative processes, your innovative capabilities. So the organization must be the organization that are amenable, or better still, organizations that embrace change with open hands and open hearts. Okay, so there is, of course, a lot of issues with regards to change, and one of these kind of change, I mean, the issues with regards to change is that it is said that it is better that for organizations to lead change. Of course, you cannot uh, change for the sake of change. As I've been telling you earlier, you have to change because you want to create better products or better production processes. Never ever change for the sake of change. Now, having said that, okay, having said that, the thing about managing change is that people in the organization must have the mentality or thinking that they should be flexible. Okay, and this is one of the kind of characteristics that are usually associated with flat organizations, because in flat organizations there are less hierarchy. The system, the work system is less rigid, and the work system is more flexible. And because of this flexibility, that change can be easily introduced. Now you must remember that change is always there, or change is a constant, because the environment changes, marketplace changes, because consumer taste changes with time. Okay, and then of course the other components of the environment changes, and then the organization also has to adapt to these changes by changing changing the organization to make it more relevant to the new environment. Of course, this change is actually very difficult. If you read the chapter in Bateman, Creating and Leading Change, I sincerely hope that you will not be fooled to think that uh, creating and leading change is as easy as what the chapter is saying. It is always fraught with pitfalls, more so because eventually change must come from people. The workers themselves have to want to change, because if they do not want to change, then the organization will spend too much time to either motivate people to change, and that would be or would mean the use of managerial resources to make people accept change, to deal with resistance to change, etc., etc. Of course, I mean, this is a very, very tricky, and there are no suitable answers to deal with how uh, organization must change. There is no formula to deal with organizational change. So it's not easy to kind of make people to embrace change with open hands and open hearts, because change usually would mean disruption to the usual way of doing things. Disruption, okay? Especially if the changes would distort the existing relationships, the existing kind of system, the reward system, okay, that people have experienced before the change, and they find that what they get after that change is like not as good as before the change, etc., etc. So it's a very very tricky thing if you are into this kind of uh, situation. That's why many organizations fail. Organizations that can adapt to the changing marketplace, they will continue to be relevant in the marketplace. Organizations that cannot adapt for various reasons, maybe the top management doesn't want to change, or perhaps the top management wants to change, but the people, the rank and file people, they don't want to change. So eventually these kind of organizations would uh, be phased out or die out, if you want to say it that way, because if you cannot change to be relevant to the environment, then eventually you will not be able to compete in the marketplace. So I sincerely hope that well, in this short lecture, that you have been introduced to this idea of managing change and innovation. Managing change and innovation is actually very tricky, right? The manager of change and innovation, the person who managed change and innovation in the first instance, must understand that change is not for the sake of change. Change is for the sake of supporting the innovation to create better products and services and to create better production processes. Remember that change is not for the sake of change, but change is to support the innovative processes in the organization. Better products, better services, better production process. And that thing, or that innovation, ultimately lies in what we have been discussing early in the semester, i.e., how or can you deal with a volatile environment. That itself is a very very difficult and tricky process. Many of you simply cannot conceptualize the future, and many of you simply give up, I guess, because the future is too complex to be conceptualized. And even if you can conceptualize, what you predict may not materialize in the future. So there you go. The this topic of managing change and innovation. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section, and I hope that you are preparing for the final exam. Please do not forget the ELIP forums, and please try to discuss amongst yourselves in the ELIP forum, because it is only through discussion that you are able to build up the best answers, because the best answers comes from the best analysis, and this you can get it by actually engaging with people, discussing with people, not to talk past or to talk through, okay, or to talk like there are nobody around. So that is all for this short lecture. So all the best. I hope to see you again in the near future. Keep up your reading, and just make sure you stay safe. And until then, adios.